I don't wanna say anything, cause if I do, I might say the wrong words. Oh no.
So it's been like 2 months since I've had an iced coffee. Actually, it's been like 2 months since I've had a coffee in general. But today I'm just feeling just not fully there. I think I could have used a little more sleep, so we're gonna offset that with an iced coffee today. It's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what steps I took when purchasing a used vehicle. Now, this is obviously going to pertain to my Raptor that I have, but this is going to work for any vehicle. I believe these are the steps you should follow when purchasing a used vehicle. Right off the get-go, the first thing you want to do when you're purchasing a vehicle, it's either A, are you paying in cash? Do you have all the money up front, or do you have to get financing? If you have the money to pay for a vehicle in full, good for you. But if you don't and you need to get financing, the first thing you want to do, go to your bank. Now, maybe you don't bank at a credit union. Generally, credit unions are going to offer the lowest interest rate. So what I did was I went ahead and got financed, and I had a couple different credit unions, and I just went with the one that was lowest, and I've banked with them in the past. And if the dealership wants to try to approve you for financing, you can do it. But here's what they're going to do. If you just go straight for the dealership financing versus if you go through your bank, they're going to approve you at 7.5%, whatever it is right now. And you're going to think, wow, that's a great deal. But really, they can actually get it lower. It's just they are keeping you at a higher interest rate. That's why you always want to get the best interest rate before you actually go to the dealership. Because that way, say you get 5.5% interest rate, the dealership's like, hey, you get 7.5. Boom, right there, you're like, well, I can get 5.5 at my bank. And it's either A, they can beat it, or B, they can't. If they can beat it, then go through them, obviously. Say you got approved for 6.5 at the dealership, they might just crank it up to 7.58%. So when I purchased my truck, I told them I already had a very low interest rate through my credit union, and they said, we think we could beat it. And they were very close. They were very close. I will give them that. I was actually impressed. And I told them what I was getting, but they could not match that. So I went through my credit union. Step number one, getting your finances in order, getting that interest rate in check, so that way you already know what the lowest you basically can get before you go into a dealership. Now that you got the financing out of the way, you can decide if you want to put a down payment down. It'll make your actual monthly payment cheaper. Once I got pre-approved for financing, I knew I was going to do a 6-year loan. And so basically what I did was I was primarily looking for a 2019-2020 Raptor. So I just took a price. I went into one of them online calculators where I put in the price of the truck minus my down payment, and then you put in your interest rate, plus you put in the years of how long you're willing to finance. That gives you an approximation of your monthly payment. So from there, I kind of knew where I wanted to be for the price of my truck. So I knew I was probably going to be in the $45,000 to maybe $51,000 price range. So now my goal is to purchase a truck in that range, but I want it to get the best deal possible.
Oh, if I said what's on my mind, would you stay with me tonight? If I said what's on my mind, would that make you run and hide? Run and hide.
Come on, let's put your leash on. Okay, I'm going. Okay, I'm going. Bye-bye. You harnessed up? Now say you find a vehicle and you think it's the one, it's in the price range, it just kind of matches up to your criteria. The next thing that you're going to want to investigate is obviously the Carfax. Now, most dealerships, even smaller ones, usually post the Carfax on their website for you guys to see. Now, here's the thing I'm going to tell you about with the Carfax. And basically, it's going to just show you everything that's been done at a dealership, and it gets registered towards that VIN number, so then it's now in the database. Buying a used vehicle can be a little daunting because you don't know what's wrong with it, and you don't know if you're buying a complete piece of crap. You don't know if it's going to be a lemon down the road. So what I did with this truck, because everybody knows that the Gen 2 Raptors have several issues, especially the cam phasers, I would research the Carfax. I would look to see if there's anything major done. Accidents for one, and then the other thing I would look for is any type of major mechanical work, because most of the time on most vehicles, you're just going to see when an oil change was done, maybe a tire rotation, things like that. But in the Carfax, it posts that dealership, the state, so you're actually able to basically research, call that dealership. They're not going to give you personal information, but if you give them the VIN number and just tell them, hey, I'm looking at purchasing a used vehicle, I'm just kind of curious to what you guys replaced on this. They should be able to look up the VIN, and then they'll tell you exactly what they replaced on it. One of the vehicles I looked at, it had said it had a timing job done. I called them, and they had basically done a cam phaser overhaul on it. Just look for accidents, obviously, and then look for if there's been any major mechanical stuff. The other thing you want to check is make sure it's just had regular oil changes. And Carfax has a thing now where it even says regular oil changes. Like, it'll be like kind of a perk to that vehicle because whoever had it did the oil changes at normal intervals. The two most popular is Carfax, and then there's AutoCheck. Now, most dealerships use Carfax. Some of them use AutoCheck. So when I purchased this truck, actually, they listed it as a one-owner vehicle. I'm like, perfect, one-owner vehicle. That means that person took care of it. No, it doesn't. That does not mean they took care of it, because my other truck that was a one-owner needed a new motor with like 70-some thousand miles. So just because it's a one-owner, don't think it's like a really good vehicle. Just be precautious. When I got on the website for this truck in specific, it says this is a one-owner vehicle. And I said, hey, send me the Carfax. I don't want the AutoCheck. I want to check both, because sometimes they have misinformation. I emailed them. He sends me another AutoCheck. And I'm like, dude, I want the Carfax, not the AutoCheck. If the dealership doesn't send you the Carfax, then you have to pay for a Carfax unless you know a buddy who has the capability to pull a Carfax for you for free. So I'm like, you know what? My gut instinct says don't just trust this AutoCheck for some reason. I was able to get the Carfax done on this. What's funny is, on AutoCheck, it states that this is a one-owner vehicle. When I pulled up the Carfax, this is actually a two-owner vehicle. I'm pretty sure that dealership gives out Carfaxes, but they didn't want to give me a Carfax because they wanted me to believe that this was a one-owner vehicle. Just because you're buying from a dealership, don't trust them. If you've seen the Carfax, I generally trust Carfax for the most part. Maybe possibly try to do the AutoCheck. If they're only sending you an AutoCheck brand and not the Carfax brand, try to get the Carfax. I trust them more, but both parties can have misleading information. But whether this truck was a one-owner or if it's a two-owner, that's not the biggest deal to me anymore, because even if it's a one-owner, it doesn't really mean much. Click it or ticket. The next thing I'm going to tell you guys when purchasing a used vehicle, research. And what I mean by that is there's so many different forms for like Raptors. There's just so many different forms for vehicles in general. And just kind of try to do some Google search and just research the vehicle you're looking at and see if there's any like major known issues. Just so you kind of know what to be on the lookout for. You know that if you purchase this vehicle, there's a chance that this could happen. Maybe that possibly makes you not purchase that vehicle, knowing that down the road you could have a major transmission issue or something with the motor. With the internet being as popular as it is, there's just so many ways to see what known issues are going on with that vehicle. Don't just go off a dealership. They're just going to BS you. Just do your due diligence. Just research as much as you can about what possibly could go wrong. So that way you should know, hey, should I buy a warranty for this vehicle? Or is it seem like it's just such a great vehicle that it has very minimal issues? So a lot of people will purchase a Raptor and then afterwards they find out that it makes the dreaded cam phaser noise. That's why I recommend just researching as much as you possibly can on the known issue part. Wrigley, how was your trip? Did you get a lot of treats? Wrigley got a bag full. He is loaded for the weekend, huh?
Can't wait for a single reason not to say goodbye. Oh, if I said what's on my mind, would you say?
Okay, so you've done all the preparations to buy a vehicle. Now you have a vehicle in mind that you want to purchase. So you need to make sure to do the next steps, which is you're going to want to look the car over. You're either going to want to do a used vehicle inspection, or if you know someone, or maybe you just know vehicles and you can look it over. But the thing that I don't like about used vehicle inspections, when I purchased this truck, I knew I was going to do a Ford extended warranty for it. In order to get one, I had to have a used vehicle inspection. Keep in mind, when I bought this truck, I have a taillight where half the LED's out, my window switch is broke, I have like a popping noise in my ball joint and my steering is not completely centered. Like it needs an alignment, probably whatever that popping noise is. So I paid like 150 bucks for a used vehicle inspection. When the truck was done and I go to pick it up, he was like, "Hey, this vehicle seems appears to be good. You know, what was the reason for the used vehicle inspection?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just was going to purchase warranty for it, and I had to have a used vehicle inspection in order to get the warranty." It's kind of crazy to me because if you bought a used vehicle and you took it in to some other dealership for a used vehicle inspection and they just passed it, like there was issues that they missed, and I'm glad they did because I plan to warranty those issues. If you're relying on them to be like it's issue free and then you buy it and it's not, you're kind of like, what the hell? If you're not mechanically inclined, get a vehicle inspection. Even then, sometimes I kind of question these people. And then if you really want to get into it, go through and just kind of look at the body lines. It's going to be tougher if you're not very familiar with like paint/body work, but I am very picky about paint. I hate mismatching paint. I hate cars that have had touch-ups. And sometimes a Carfax won't say if a vehicle has been wrecked. Somebody might have fixed it under the radar and you don't know. If a vehicle has maybe a door resprayed or something like that and it matches pretty close, it's not that big of a deal. But when I see something that's been painted, it's just a complete different shade of color, but it's close, it would drive me insane. Just kind of go through and do your best to just kind of look at all the door jambs. See where the door meets the fender, the Raptors kind of pop out. That's normal, but just try to make sure all of your body lines seem like they are smooth. Majority of the time, your Carfax should cover you in that aspect. Sometimes maybe something got scratched or something and they just had to touch up the door. That's nothing to worry about, but you just don't want to worry about something that's been hidden, is all I'm saying. So at this point, you should have already looked the vehicle over, did a test drive yourself, everything checks out, and then you possibly may have done the used vehicle inspection. Now it's time to execute and purchase the vehicle. The dealership's gonna want to make sure they figure out the financing for you. If you're gonna use their financing, just tell them that you don't have financing yet. And then that way, if they do come back with like 7.5% interest rate, you could just be like, boom, my credit union gave me a 5.5, and then the thing they're gonna do is they're gonna try to beat it. Chances are it's kind of tough to beat a credit union, but if they can beat it, then just finance through the dealership. The other thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the actual out the door price. This is something that I would kind of check into maybe before you deal with the dealership. I had multiple Raptors lined up that I wanted to purchase. When I say out the door price, my main focus was my best out the door price. It was really tough because some dealerships out of state, I'm in Iowa, some of them like down in Oklahoma, I had a Raptor completely lined up. I was ready to sign the paperwork over the internet. Right before I signed, I said, hey, and they kept telling me out the door. And so then I said, before I actually went through with it, I was almost to the final steps of purchasing this vehicle. Before I actually did the last piece that I needed to sign, I said, hey, so this price is tax, title, registration, that's out the door. And he says, no, it's not. And I said, no, hold up, man. I said, out the door is out the door. And he tried to state that their out the door is not with tax, title, registration. So that meant that was going to cake on another like almost $3,000 to this truck. And I said, no, because now the truck I'm paying too much for this truck. Like the truck's not worth that much at the out the door price with tax, title, registration. So when you talk to a dealership and your main focus is the best out the door price, you verify that the price they're giving you is tax, title, registration. So when I purchased this truck, I negotiated the price out the door with all of those things included. So that's just another way that they could try to get you to get in, because then you're so far in signing paperwork, you've already made your mind up you want the vehicle, and then they're like, you know what, he'll figure it out right at the very end. Just another thing to be on the lookout for. Always try to negotiate out the door price, because that's when things just get added on and it drives me insane. So now everything's good. You've done all of your due diligence, research, you drove it, everything checks out, you got your financing complete. The last thing you need to do, and this is actually if you do financing through the dealership. My bank was closed at noon on a Saturday, and I had to drive 3.5 hours away to pick up my truck. What we did was I financed through the dealership, and then a month later I refinanced through my bank, and I made sure they were still going to give me the same interest rate. But what they did is, when I'm signing the paperwork on their iPad to do like the e-signature stuff, I was ready to initial a lot of things. But then I said, you know what, I better make sure I read through this because I just know how dealerships are. I had gotten the sales guy down on the price, so I'm going through the paperwork, and sure enough, they were trying to make me sign for the original cost of the truck that they were selling it for. So I said, hey, this isn't the price that we negotiated on. I said, this is the original price. I said, we're off by a few thousand. He goes, oh, it must have somehow reverted back. Very doubtful, man. You were just trying to get me to sign for the original price and hoping I wasn't going to see it. So guys, that's a rundown of how I purchase a used vehicle. I have gotten screwed in the past. It was by a Ford dealership, and I just don't want it to happen to you guys. And just basically, sometimes you have to just take a lesson like that and learn from it. That's pretty much what I've learned. It's kind of daunting buying a used vehicle because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. The best thing you can do is just do your research. It'll hopefully be beneficial in the long run. So that's all I got for you guys today. Wrigley, he's ready. He's got his dog treats. Wrigley, tell him, drop this video a like. And any comments, drop them below. I'll help you guys out. Peace.